Joining us now is Atlantic staff writer and MSNBC political contributor Mark Leibovich. Mark, what is your reaction to what's going on at the FBI, and how big of a deal do you think this is?
Well, I mean, like a lot of things simultaneously, it's a little hard. Huge traditions of the FBI and the Justice Department and how these things typically work. I mean, it looks very much from the outside like they are trying to, obviously trying to identify and try to sort of perhaps punish or perhaps do something to change the work environment of people who worked on cases related to Donald Trump. So obviously, that's not something that is typically happening. And the other thing is it's dealing with hundreds, if not thousands, of employees, many of whom, if not most of whom, had no choice whatsoever on working on this. It's not like they raised their hand and said, aha, I want to go after this. I'm fascinated by this case, and so forth. So look, we'll see. I mean, it's unclear whether some kind of mass resignation or mass firing will result from this. But the bottom line is it hasn't happened before, but it also, look, I mean, we're talking about a massive personnel overhaul that once you dismantle a agency like this is very hard not only to rebuild, but also to try to find people who are willing to do these jobs in a period of time in which, these presidencies, tend to go fast.
And this flood the zone approach, I mean, there's so much going on simultaneously by the Trump administration. It kind of feels like Steve Bannon would applaud this. It feels like something he would endorse. How long do you think this pace can last?
Well, I mean, it's certainly familiar. I mean, this has been mimicked. This echoes a lot of aspects of his first term. It echoes many aspects of both of his campaigns. It seems to be going at a higher rate. It also seems perhaps more organized. It feels like there might be more of a method to the madness this time around because, as we've heard, and I think we're seeing, this is a probably better prepared, more experienced group that is much more in line with what Donald Trump wants. And a lot of them have been through this before, know what they're looking for, and so forth. So, look, I mean, I think ultimately the same rhythm applies, and these things do ebb and flow. But it's been obviously a constant drumbeat for the first, couple of weeks of this, and we'll see where it leads.
I also want to ask you about President Trump's first press conference following that D.C. crash. It wasn't the first time he's made insensitive and demonstrably false statements following a national tragedy. But what is your response to him using this crash to kind of promote his political agenda, especially with this DEI allegation that doesn't seem to be founded in any truth? Do you believe his aides are encouraging him to be more solemn and respectful, or do you think they're on board with whatever this is?
I think that the structure in place right now is that his aides are not going to speak up, and even if they did, he is not going to listen to them. I mean, this is a full-on Trump, let Trump be Trump on steroids. Again, we've seen aspects of this in both campaigns in the first term. I mean, I think any president in history other than him would probably just stick to the normal playbook of expressing compassion, mourning, thoughts and prayers, that kind of thing. Basically, the human response. This is completely different. But again, it is not out of character. It doesn't strike me, and it certainly shouldn't strike anyone as out of character who's been watching Donald Trump for the last 10 years. And to some degree, I mean, this is democracy at work because all of this stuff was very much in place. All these behaviors were very much accounted for coming in, and America voted for it. So, I mean, this is what, that election has wrought so far. We'll see how long it sustains itself.
I mean, look, anyone who covered the first Trump administration knows how chaotic it can be. But it seems to be there was this spending freeze and then it was unfrozen. I've been talking to folks in Canada and Mexico. They don't even seem to know if these tariffs are in place yet. It seems a little bit more chaotic at the top. Do you think that's going to calm down as these changes are put into place, or do you think it's going to cascade and we should be expecting this for the foreseeable future?
I certainly would expect it for the foreseeable future because it does seem to be his style right now. He does seem to be driven. I also think he's probably watching the clock. I mean, I don't know if he intuitively thinks this way, but look, this is his last, bite of the apple, and he's not wasting any time. I do think that from the outside, I think to the average person and probably to the average Trump voter, they don't pay close enough attention to sort of see what ultimately is coming of this, whether there's a sort of court injunction or something like that, whether they withdraw these orders. I mean, mostly what this gives the appearance of is action, someone who has come in and is doing something, someone who is fighting for, exactly pretty much what he campaigned on. And I think that's probably going to be enough for people. And look, I mean, I think at this point, the real life ramifications of this haven't trickled quite far down yet, but that could change over time, obviously.
We also had some contentious hearings on the Hill with Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy, and Kash Patel. Is there one of those or two of those that you think might not get confirmed? And how were their performances this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. And I think right now, I mean, if you want to sort of listen to conventional wisdom, and I haven't been close to these hearings and I haven't talked to anyone on the Hill about it, but I think it looks like Gabbard might be the most vulnerable at this point. Those three, especially together, you sort of can look at, maybe Hegseth before, even though he was narrowly confirmed, were seen as the real vulnerabilities. And I think, look, there were some rocky moments in all three of those confirmation hearings. The question is, are they going to move the needle with a couple of senators, beyond the people that you would expect, whether it's Collins, Murkowski, or what have you? Again, we're talking with a very, very low margin, but also the precedent is that Republicans, if they have any doubt at all, are going to give Trump the benefit of it. And that's what we've seen traditionally, and we're certainly seeing it now.
All right, Mark Leibovich, thank you so much for joining us.